hole in the wall. Dylan had always hated the old house. His grandfather had died in it, and no one ever talked about why. It was a relic from the early 1900s, with creaky floorboards, drafty hallways, and the kind of silence that made your own breathing seem too loud. But when his father inherited it, they had no choice but to move in. The worst part was his room. The wallpaper was ancient, curling at the edges, and right above his bed was a hole in the wall, small, about the size of a quarter, but deep. It looked like someone had jammed a screwdriver into it. His father told him not to touch it. Just an old house settling, he said. But at night, Dylan swore he could hear something inside it. A faint scratching, a whispering breath. One evening, unable to ignore the curiosity clawing at his brain, he pressed his eye to the hole. At first, he saw nothing but blackness. Then, after a few seconds, something shifted. A pale, milky eye stared back at him. Dylan yelped and fell back. He told his parents, but they dismissed it as imagination. His father plastered over the hole. But the next morning, the hole was back. That night, he taped a piece of paper over it. When he woke up, the paper had been ripped away, and something had been written on the wall in jagged, childlike handwriting. "I see you." Terrified, Dylan begged his parents to let him sleep somewhere else. They finally agreed to move him to the guest room. That night he felt safer. No hole, no eye. But at 3 a.m., he woke to the feeling of breath on his face. A voice, so close it might have been inside his skull, whispered, "I liked watching you sleep." The next morning, Dylan's parents found him in his bed, his mouth open in a silent scream, eyes wide with terror. The only thing left in his room was a fresh hole in the wall. Waiting for the next occupant